secularism where should stop, what it means, and so forth. But for the purpose of this presentation, I will just limit it to the relationship between politics and religion, and the fact that secularism means just put aside or send inside the houses the issue of religion, just talk about public issues as they are present and affect the life of people in the society. So in other words, religion is going to be a private, personal matter, and politics is a public one. So I will really limit the usage of this very inaccurate, probably, definition for the purpose of my presentation. As for democracy, obviously, the word is a composite word, meaning, as Rousseau mentioned it, the rule of people, by people, on people, and for people, and so forth. So in other words, the very basic elements of the exercise of the kind of rights that the people have in an open and tolerant societies. Getting to the case of Iran, I will start with some raw statistics about that country. Iran ranks 16th in size among the countries of the world. We know that Canada is the second one, so in terms of geography, territory, comparing them would mean many things, including obviously resources, including the neighborhood, and so forth. And also, Iran is about 1/5 of the continental US. I mentioned US because the US is, as it was mentioned in the introduction, plays a significant role in relationship that Iran has with the outside world, but also inside Iran. Other question related to Iran and statistics is that Iran shares its border with all those countries that you see at the right of your hand. Pakistan is here, Afghanistan there, and then when we go to the north, Turkmenistan, northwest, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and then to the west, Turkey, Iraq, and so forth. Those are 7 countries. I've counted them, I believe. But Iran is a neighbor of more than those 7 countries, because in the north, if you look at the Caspian Sea, for example, the Caspian Sea, by extension, Iran is neighbor to Russia and to Kazakhstan too. And if we look at the south, the Persian Gulf region, there obviously Iran is the neighbor to those 6 countries of GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and United Arab Emirates, and so forth. So in total, Iran has 15 countries as neighbor. Some of those countries are not in peace, as you know. With Afghanistan, Iran has a 936-kilometer border. That border was a source of a lot of tension during, obviously, the invasion of Afghanistan by Soviet Union in the late 70s and during the 80s. When Taliban took over, we were not very far from a conflict between Iran and Afghanistan. The other country of concern for Iran is Pakistan, and Iran has a 909-kilometer border with Pakistan. There too, there are some problems related to the minorities in that region, Baluchis in Iran, and the other side of the border in Pakistan. There are a lot of activities, trafficking and drug trafficking and all kinds of trafficking, human trafficking and so forth on that border too. And then when we move to the west, Turkey and Iraq, the relationship between Iran and Turkey were not always very cordially. Sometimes they get tense. But the most important preoccupation now is really the relationship between Iran and Iraq. And if we look at the map, just a word about the US, I would say the most prominent neighbor of Iran is the United States of America. They are present in Afghanistan, they are in Pakistan, they are in Azerbaijan in the north, in Turkey obviously, and more prominently in Iraq and the Persian Gulf. So that presence obviously makes a lot of sense or pressure, I should say, not sense, pressure on the Iranian regime, and the Americans do not really shy to use their presence and their muscles. The other statistics are related to the population of Iran. This is a very young country. The last figure that I checked mentions 70 million, the population of that country. Nearly 1/4 of its population is 15 years of age or younger, so a very young one, and also about 71% is being 15 to 64 years of age. The population growth rate in Iran is estimated as 0.663%. In 2003. This is a huge improvement, and I would say revolution in a good sense of the word, remarkable drop from the rate that Iran used to have immediately after the revolution. So that is one of the issues that I'm going to mention later on when talking about religion, the place and the role of religion in the Iranian society. Iran is a multinational, multi-ethnic, and multi-linguistic country. In terms of religion, most of the Iranians are Muslims, about 90% of them being Shia, 8% Sunni, and the rest, the 2% minorities such as Jews, Christians, and many others, Zoroastrians, and so forth. Iran is a very old country, has a very old history. Iran's written history begins around 3200 BC. Religion was always part of an important component of the Iranian culture and society back then to the present situation. Around 1000 BC, Zoroastrianism became a state religion under the Achaemenid Empire, and later Iranian Persian empires, until the 7th century when Islam came about, invading Iran, and Iran was converted to, or the majority of Iranians were converted to Islam. The most important figure maybe in the Iranian history is Cyrus the Great, who established a unified empire, Achaemenid Empire, around in 648 to 330 BC. He is considered by a number of authors as the world's oldest human rights soldier. His declaration is extremely prominent. The Cyrus Cylinder or Cyrus Charter, you probably heard about that, is translated by UN in 1971 in all official language of the UN. A replica of the charter has been on display at the UN headquarters in New York. As a tribute to what he did in terms of human rights and tolerance, respect of others, and so forth. The other maybe important question about him is a book written by